Welcome back. Day 3. All right, so today is going to be primarily covering some standing postures and forward folds. Don't be too scared. I promise it's not too intense. When I say standing postures, I mean standing postures, so it's not going to be too intense. If I have enough time, I might throw in a tree or something there, but I'm not going to make you balance like crazy today. And then forward folds, because forward folds are very invigorating, so it's a good waker upper. And standing postures are good for stability, core strength, and all that good stuff. So, as we begin today, finding that mountain pose, that perfect posture that we talked about, I believe, on day 1, finding the balance in your feet, maybe shifting that weight back and forth and side to side until you find a position that is the most comfortable for you. You don't want to have all of your weight in your toes. You don't want to have all of your weight in your heels. You want to find a nice, stable place where weight is as evenly distributed as possible. Arms up, shoulders roll up to your ears and roll back to your back body, which fairly naturally turns palms facing forward. And one more time, shoulders up to ears, roll back, and find that standing position again. And beginning with that breath linked movement, inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. And then dropping your hands again, inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. And then spinal twist, exhale to the right. Inhale forward, exhale to the left. Inhale forward, exhale to the right, and keep going. Inhale and exhale. And then drop hands to side. Maybe get a little bit of neck rotation in. We're not going to be going neck heavy today, but it's always good to stretch out that neck, especially if you've been on your computer driving a lot today or on the overnight. You just want to bring that mobility back and then back to center. Inhale, sweep arms up. And exhale, first forward fold, bend forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Hang here, maybe cross arms to hold opposite elbows. And then just breathe. Feel free to find a nice gentle bend in your knees. It does not have to be super straight. You just want your shoulders and your head heavy. Shake your head no. Nod your head yes. Always ending on the positive. And then drop your arms, and as you exhale, roll slowly up. As you're rolling up, your shoulders and your knees are the last things to find that final position. And then inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And then beginning to step into a runner's lunge. Step that right foot back as far as you can. If you need to, feel free to shift that back further or walk your front foot forward. That works too. And breathe here. Maybe drop that knee down if you want to start to feel a little bit of a stretch in your hip, or keep your knee up.
If you did drop that knee, lift it back up, step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And then same thing, stepping back on the left foot. Feel free to drop that back leg down, but not for too long. Just a gentle warm up, fairly gentle. Step that knee back up and step your feet forward. And now, as we are going to start with some folds, step back with your right foot again, but instead of bending your front leg, shift your left toes forward so that your toes are parallel with the sides with the front and the back of your mat. A wide angled forward fold. Feel free to prop up on your fingers, or if you need a block to be more comfortable, feel free to grab a block. That would just go right here if you need it. Or if you have more hip mobility, feel free to bend forward fold, and eventually maybe your hands will meet and maybe your forearms. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. And then walking your hands back to the front of your mat. Step forward with your right foot. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. And then for the sake of symmetry, we're going to step back with our left foot, pivot our feet so that they are angled again, perpendicular to the front and the back of your mat. Parallel, I apologize, not perpendicular. And bow forward. If you would like, feel free to put your hands back behind you, interlace your fingers, and then drop your hand back up over in front of you. This is a good way to bring in some shoulder mobility. It's also a good way to let gravity kind of help pull you down a little bit so that you're not overexerting yourself, but finding a position that's comfortable for you. You may not be bent so far, you may be here, but wherever your body is right now is where it should be. And then release your hands back to your bum. Walk your hands forward. And this time, what we're going to do is we're going to bring our heels in, keep your toes where they are. And there's no real great way to decide where your legs are going to be beyond what feels best for you. But for just a starting point, bring your heels in, keep your toes where they are, and then start to tip back so that you're in a squat position. So what we're going to do here is what we call a goddess. And so when you're bent down, your toes are going to be out, your heels are going to be in, and then bring your arms up into goddess arms. They look like goalposts. They just look like nice little 90-degree angles here, but just squatting down and holding here. If this is too much, feel free to keep your hands on your knees or on your waist, or if you need to come up a little bit, feel free to do that too. But now this is what we call goddess. And this is another standing posture that's a really good one to start building in some thigh strength, but also it's a really nice one to start maybe moving your knees or moving your hips around. And so now bringing those ankles and your toes back to parallel with the mat. Exhale, forward fold. And then walk your hands back to the front of the mat and step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, sweep arms up to sky. Exhale, hands to heart center. So now we're going to start working on a hero series, which I'm not going to have you go through the series per se, but just so that you can understand what those positions are. Warrior 2 is the most common posture that you're going to hear cued in typical yoga practices. A lot of times Hero 1 gets skipped because it
does a lot of it requires a lot of hip mobility, as well as it can be pretty hard on people's ankles. So it does tend to be one that teachers tend to kind of just bypass. But if it does get called in a regular class, it is one that you want to hear and you want to know. So thinking of that warrior, inhale, arms up, exhale, forward fold. Place your hands on the mat, step your right foot back. We're going to go from the lower position instead of the upper, just for the sake of it being a little bit easier for beginners. And so then as you are going to exhale, you are going to peel that heel back and inhale, blossom your arms open. Maybe check that positioning. And like we talked about the other day, you may want to be more straight, but in the long run, but in the beginning, you might need to be on those railroad tracks. So feel free to move your front leg over or your back leg over, whichever is going to be easier for you. But what you're going to be trying to do is you're going to be trying to make sure that your hips are level with the side of this mat. You don't want to have them cocked out sideways, because that will do a lot. It could potentially pull a hamstring. It's not very comfortable. So you do essentially want to be facing sideways. And so then blossoming those arms out open. Remember to track that knee out towards your pinky toe side and breathe here. Some variations in warrior that you might hear are actually, one is not technically a warrior per se, but you might hear about an angle. So when you have your side angle, your same elbow is going to be on that same knee. You're going to reach that right hand over the top and point it towards the edge of the wall where the ceiling meets the wall, and pull through those fingertips. You want to find even balance in your feet and breathe here. And so although this isn't called a warrior, it is technically part of a sequence oftentimes. And so another way that this can be done is with your hands down, whether that's with a block or not, but we're not going to go into that today, but that is another variation. So if you've seen people with their hands on the ground, it's the exact same thing. They could be in front or they could be in back. And so then inhale, sweep arms back to those warrior arms, and then a reclined or a revolved warrior. I'm sorry, what is this called? It's one of my favorite ones, and I'm butchering the name right now. But so this is a warrior. I believe it's just a reclined warrior, but I'm off my name game today. So just your back hand reaches down for your thigh or your shin or the calf side of your leg. I apologize, but you do want to avoid that knee, and breathe. And then exhale, windmill your arms down. Step forward with your front foot. And since we're going to go straight into the next one, step back with your left foot. Peel that heel down and inhale, sweep arms up and open. So I didn't say it on the first side, but feel free to check that back arm to make sure that it's level. You do want to make sure that your arms aren't kiltered out. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it is just a better posture, and it also helps the stretch. So then dropping down to that side angle posture, right elbow to right knee, pull through the fingertips in your left side. And remember to track your heel out to the outer edge of your feet. If you start noticing that you're not feeling much of a stretch, maybe you can step back a little bit farther, or if you're not feeling very comfortable, you might need to step in a little bit further, but just find that position that's going to be best for you. If you do want to test it out and see if you can reach the ground, go for it. But then we are going to exhale back to warrior two. Oftentimes with this warrior that I am just blanking on the name for, you will sweep your hands forward before reaching back. That allows for a little bit more spinal motion and space between vertebrae so that you're not crunching yourself. And breathe. Arms out long for this warrior two. Since we didn't hold it as long at the beginning, just for the sake of evenness, let's hold it for just another second here. And then windmill arms down and step that back leg forward. Feel free to inhale, halfway lift, or just hang there. Exhale, forward fold. And then inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. And so now, for the sake of just showing you what the warrior one is versus a warrior two. So a warrior two, feel free to just listen or you can follow along, but this is more just to explain it than anything else, and then we can do it in a second. But so when you go into a warrior one, the warrior two, you're stepped back, you're in this nice tall lunge, you're like, so you've got this wonderful lunge here. But so with a warrior one, you actually want your feet in a little bit more, and you want them at a 45-degree angle off to the side. So this is kind of a funky position because you're trying to press your weight forward, but you've also got this back leg in a little bit funny. But so if you do decide to try this one, you might notice that it feels a little bit hard on your hips, because really the warrior one, the other part is that your hips are supposed to be flat to the front of your mat. So it's kind of a strange one. So it's not a bad position. It's not a bad posture to learn, but it's really a tricky one. You might be able to see on my mat here, I have an alignment mat, and that's especially because I injure myself super easily and I am drastically out of alignment. So this helps me realign as much as possible because my body's off kilter. One hip is an inch up and out, so it's really easy for me to tweak something. So this way, there are the lines right on the mat, so I can really tell, like, okay, there's my 45-degree angle because there's a line there. So not every mat has those things, but something like that could be helpful if it is something that you're interested in trying. But so just for the sake of trying it, what we're going to do is we're going to inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Step your right foot back, not as far back as you would step back for a runner's lunge or for this warrior, but almost far enough back that you are not right here, but so that you're not stepping too far forward. And there's no real grade gauge on this one. So then inhale, sweep arms up to keep those hips pointed forward, and exhale, bend in the knee. So what you want is you want to keep that blade edge of your foot pressed down against the mat. And you can probably see how different that is compared to here. So sticking with that warrior one. But so for the sake of just ease, what we're going to do is we are going to twist around to the front. So we're in that forward, in that wide angle, but we're not doing the forward fold. So now we're going to twist the right foot out, bring that left foot in a little bit and to that 35 and that 45-degree angle. This one in particular, you will always be on railroad tracks. I didn't say that earlier, I apologize. But you will always be on railroad tracks. This is not one that you're ever going to be perfectly in line. It's not possible. Your hips won't allow it. And so when you're on those railroad tracks, you've got your right foot forward, bend your knee, left foot back, pull your right hip back so that it's in line, so that it is nice and square to the back of your mat. And inhale, sweep arms up. And then exhale, unwind your feet, pivot so that you're forward again, and have them parallel to the sides. And just for the sake of not going through that sequence again, we're just going to walk all the way forward and step forward to the front of our mat. So another thing that is a good portion about learning this warrior one is that, so warrior one, it's kind of like, I don't necessarily love that it's in the warrior series just because it's so much different than the warriors. Like, you really can't comfortably go from warrior 1 to 2 to 3. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but that's just me. So, but one thing that you can do when you have a good position for this warrior one is straighten that front leg, forward fold, and this is a triangle. So just if you do want to follow along with that,
feel free to, but you don't need to. So if you did do it on one side though, just for the demo, swap feet just to kind of get the feeling on both sides. And so a triangle, there's a lot of different ways that it can be done, but you can either just be bent forward, you can put your hand down and twist, but so that footing really is important. It's just not as easy as some of the other ones. So then as far as folds go, now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working our way down to the floor so we can get started with floor work and starting to move into Shavasana. So inhale, arms up, exhale, forward fold, and feel free to step back through a table or just feel free to find your way to the ground. But what we're going to do is we're going to find a wide angle with our legs. You may have kind of like this, like a shorter one. That's totally fine, as wide out as you need to, but really you don't want to be putting any strain on your hips here. So as you are inhaling, inhale tall, and exhale, walk your hands forward. And exhale, walk your hands back. If you are particularly flexible, the cueing for this is backwards. So I'm going to cue this for the beginners because you've said you're beginners. If this is not giving you enough, please let me know. And I could definitely give you the cueing for more flexibility. But so I'm going to give you the cueing for beginners. So inhale, sweep arms up. Exhale, look to your left foot and fold forward. Walk your hands back. Inhale, sweep arms up. Look to your right foot and exhale, fold. And inhale, walking yourself back in. And now, just bring your leg around. Nice long staff pose. Sit tall. Move that skin out from underneath your hips. Inhale, reach arms up. And exhale, fold. And then beginning to walk your hands back up. Bring in your left leg or right leg. We're going to do both. Drag that opposite hip back. Inhale, sweep arms up. And exhale, fold. Gently walk your hands back. Opposite leg goes long. Bring in that other leg. Long leg, drag that hip back. Inhale, sweep arms up. And exhale, fold. And then walking your hands back. And this time, bring your legs both in so that the palm edges of your feet are touching. Hold your ankles. Sit nice and tall. And exhale, fold. Maybe your nose touches your toes. Maybe you're just looking at your feet like, what the heck is she talking about? It's never going to get there. But just breathe. On those inhales, lengthen your spine. And on those exhales, try to drop lower. And sitting up. Maybe walk those feet out a little bit further, but keeping those palms of your feet together. So what we're going to do is slide into what we call a turtle. So when you have lower back pain, this can be a really nice one. But so what you're going to do is you're going to put your palms facing up, slide your hands underneath your shins or calves, whichever side you're thinking of, and your hands are going to go basically near where your feet are going to go, or not even close, depending on how flexible you are. And then just drop your head to your heels. If you're not feeling anything in your back here, you can walk your hips back, or you can walk your hips forward to mess around with where you can feel it. If you're feeling it everywhere, then just breathe. And unwind your hands the way that they went in. Run those legs back long, and we're going to start reclining back. So as you're laying back, I'm sitting on a block. So as you're laying back, maybe keep your feet up and side to side windshield wipers. This has been a very forward fold heavy class, so let's just try to release those hips a little bit. And then drop your legs down. Reaching your arms straight up overhead, grab the right hand around the left wrist, pull that wrist up as if you're trying to pull your shoulder out of the socket, and then drag your arm across your body to the right. You can go over as little or as much as feels good for you. And reaching back tall, left hand goes around right wrist, pull up and out, and then drop over to the side. You can feel free to roll off of that back body a little bit if that feels good. Don't worry about trying to keep your shoulder down. And arms straight back up. Maybe reach a little taller and then arms back behind you. Reach through your fingers and your toes. This is a good morning stretch. And then exhale, reach for your knees, hug in your legs. And release back down. Bringing your heels out long to the corners of your mat. Drop your toes out to the side. Feel free to place your palms down or facing up, whatever feels better for you today. And beginning to breathe into Shavasana.
Feel free to close your eyes and imagine all of the remaining tension in your body melting away. Even though this was a quick practice, it was intense. And thanking your body for all that it does for you. As you're relaxing, feel as if a surge of calm, beginning at your toes, starts to grow, releasing any and all tension in your feet and your calves. Release your knees, your thighs, and your hamstrings. Relax your glute muscles and your pelvis. Relax the muscles in your abdomen and your low back. Release your chest and upper back. Your shoulders and down your arms. Release any tension in and around your elbows, down your forearms, to your wrists, and through your hands to your fingertips. Release your throat and your jaw. And let your cheeks and eyes sink back. Releasing your eyebrows and smoothing out the wrinkles on your forehead. And then allow your scalp to melt back and relax. And breathing here for just another moment. And now beginning to wiggle your fingers and toes, maybe blinking those eyes open, and slowly and carefully beginning to turn to the outside, one side or the other. Rest your forehead down for one grounding breath before pressing yourself up and back into a seated position. Your hands can come to your knees or at heart center. And if they're not already there, bring your hands to heart center. Bow down to your fingers. Thank you for joining me in this practice today.
I hope you have a great rest of your day, whether that means going to sleep or staying up. I hope that this has been helpful, and I truly hope that it brings peace into the rest of your day, whatever that may be. Namaste. All right, day 3. Thank you for sticking with me on this one. This has been really fun for me. I hope that you're having fun with it. But one really goofy side note that I didn't want to bring up while we were practicing. I hope you think this is funny. We'll find out. So that last thing that we did before we released into Shavasana, this posture right here, it is truly called wind releasing pose. So if you farted, that's normal. In fact, in many yoga classes, it's considered a compliment because it means that you're truly relaxing. I think it's funny. I hope you do too. Hope you guys have a great day. Talk to you soon.